Are y'all ready for a journey of intellectual growth and social expansion? Hold on tight because Jupiter is entering into Gemini. Hey y'all, I'm Jasmeen, the owner of House of Chiron Astrology and Reiki, and I make the language of astrology digestible for all of y'all. So welcome to my channel. Welcome in, welcome in. So if you are in fact new here, let me just give you the lingo and the lay of the land of how we work things here at House of Chiron. So first and foremost, I am Jasmeen. I am the owner and founder of House of Chiron, where I aim to make astrology digestible. I want to make it easy so we all can just take it in and understand it and use it. Okay. Also, I have a little piece that I add to it that's more mental health aspect of things because I am also a mental health professional. I am currently navigating my master's in social work. So that is also something in pursuit of becoming a therapist and many other things. Also, I am your Reiki master. So all things holistic healing. Okay. This is the one-stop shop for that. Okay. All right. So how this works here at House of Chiron, I do these monthly videos where they're called Galactic Gossip, but those are my podcasts. And so I go over all of the energy for the month. But throughout the month, I have little snippets and little shorts that I put out for the current energy that's happening, as well as some little tidbits on how to learn certain things about astrology. I also have new moon and full moon readings where I go deep into the energy for the new moon and the full moon. And then I also do readings for all 12 zodiac signs in those videos. And then we have our special one-off videos like this one, where transits like Jupiter happen every 12 to 13 months or so. And so we don't get this transit happening every month like we would, certain things. So I do these and I also give readings for all 12 signs to let you know what the energy is looking like for you for the next year, because this is a year transit. Okay. So that being said, let's dive right on into it. But before we do that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because if you made it this far, that means you already like what I've been saying. So there's that. If you are returning, welcome back. Let's dive in. I know y'all been waiting on this Jupiter in Gemini transit, okay? Because Jupiter in Taurus brought us a lot of expansion and a lot of understanding and truth when it comes to our values and our possessions, and when it comes to agriculture and things like that. We still have Uranus that's in the sign of Taurus. And I believe that Venus just moved into Gemini. So we're going to have a lot of Gemini influence going on. So, with that being said, let's just strictly talk about Jupiter being in Gemini, okay? Because Jupiter is interesting. It's a very interesting planet. It's known as a planet of abundance and all that good stuff, but it also has a downside to it, okay? So Jupiter enters into Gemini on May 25th until June 9th of 2025. So we have a good year of this transit. So as Jupiter enters into Gemini, we are really going to be ushered into a year that's rich in expansion, growth, and enrichment in the realms of communication and intellect, learning, as well as social connections. And so this transit is really going to be amplifying the intellectual curiosity that we have. It's going to be encouraging in exploration of like new ideas, and also enhancing our communication abilities, right? How we communicate is going to be expanding on that. It's a period that's going to be marked by opportunities that broaden one's understanding through diverse experiences, as well as exchanges, being able to relate to different people from different, walks of life and different religious beliefs and so on and so forth. These are all very much so Jupiter ruled themes. Now, first, before we even be able to talk about like what is Jupiter and Gemini, we first have to dissect what is Jupiter and then what is Gemini. So, that being said, what's Jupiter? Jupiter is a social planet, right? So it's known for its expansive nature. And when I say social planet, it affects us as a society. So one of those planets that affects us societal wise. So when something happens to Jupiter, it happens not only in our individual lives, yes, true, but also socially it affects us as well. So with Jupiter the energy is known for, the expansive nature, being able to have a broader reach, being able to see things from a higher perspective. It's associated with luck and good fortune. The cycle spans approximately about 12 years for it to go through all 12 zodiac signs. So meaning that it spends about 1 year in each zodiac sign. Now, some attributes that you can kind of tie into Jupiter just to kind of get you an understanding. And since I'm speaking of this, I have all of this information on a free cheat sheet PDF guide where it goes into deep detail about all the planets, all the signs, the houses, and even some of the aspects, as well as some of the asteroids. And it's 30 pages of free information where I tell you what I'm about to tell you right now with Jupiter, but I do it for all of the things. Okay. So for instance, with Jupiter, the home sign is Sagittarius and Pisces. So Jupiter rules both Sagittarius, but it also rules Pisces in traditional astrology. So before Neptune was founded, Jupiter ruled Pisces. And so the detriment of it is Gemini and Virgo. So it's at home. It feels good when it's in Sagittarius and Pisces. It's comfortable there, but it's not so comfortable when it's in Gemini or Virgo. It's in its detriment. So it's in its opposite home signs. Okay. So it's in exaltation, meaning that it's like on vacation. It feels really, really good, right? It does all the things when it is in the sign of Cancer. And it's at fall when it's in Capricorn. So the opposite of that exaltation is Capricorn. So it's at fall, does not necessarily do well in that sign. So some symbolism that's associated with Jupiter is that it represents expansion and abundance, optimism. We know those things, but also it can reflect the husband in a woman's chart. It also rules like long distance journeys, foreign countries, higher education, adventure, our belief systems, so on and so forth. Okay. So, like I said, I go into deeper detail, on that information for all 12 zodiac signs in that free PDF cheat sheet guide that you can find on my website. Just go there, put your email in, download it, it's yours. Okay. So, now, let's get into understanding Gemini, okay? So, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which is an air sign, and that's characterized by its intellectual, clever, and adaptable, and even curious nature. I'm a Gemini. It's true. Okay, so it's a mutable modality, right? So, a mutable sign, it highlights the flexibility and the versatility that this energy has. So, some key attributes with the Gemini energy. When you think of Gemini, you should literally think the phrase or the word I think, right? Because you have Aries, which is I am, you have Taurus, which is I have, and then you have Gemini, which is I think, if you want to go into order, right? And then Cancer is I feel, and then so on and so forth. So with Gemini is I think, because it's all about the mental capacities of things. It's all about the mental nature, the ideas, the philosophies on a lower level. Not philosophies, it's like Sagittarius energy, but like what you think you know. All right, not what you absolutely know for certain, like not necessarily truth, but more fact-based. That's Gemini. So, like I said, it's an element of air that is, it rules air. So it's ruled by air, it's the element. Also, it is a mutable air sign. Its polar opposite is Sagittarius, which is interesting because, like I said, it's in its detriment, right? It's in this opposite home sign of Jupiter. Jupiter is at home in Sagittarius. So, the polarity of this is Sagittarius. So the Gemini energy is masculine. So we can kind of keep that in mind when we're thinking about the different themes and phrases and whatnot that's coming up with this transit. Some words to kind of take with you when you think of the Gemini phrase is intellect, clever, adaptable, curious, versatile, being able to maneuver and move and change, right? Whereas Jupiter has been in Taurus where it does not like change. Now it's moving into Gemini where it appreciates, that change, or where change is more so appreciated in Gemini. So now Jupiter in Gemini, what do we expect with this energy? Now that we have an understanding of the two individual, now we put the two together, that Jupiter's influence in Gemini is really going to be enhancing the desire for knowledge and adaptability, the ability to be flexible, to make change, right? And change through information. So change through knowledge, change through understanding, change through relations. And so the placement is really encouraging various forms of exploration, such as like travel, education, and the pursuit of like new hobbies and new ideals, right? And so social activities are going to likely increase during this time on an individual level, but also collectively. So it's going to be providing ample opportunities to form new connections that actually stimulate into the intellectual growth for all of us. Like we're going to be meeting people and connecting in communities that help us not only grow as a person, but help us grow intellectually, like learning something new, being able to relate to one another, give you a different perspective of things. So that's that. Now, there are some downsides to this energy, right? So the downsides of Jupiter in Gemini, because keep in mind, Jupiter does not like being in Gemini. So although it's going to be, expanding in a positive way, these Gemini influenced themes, however, it does not necessarily feel good when it's in the sign of Gemini. It does not work well in Gemini. There's going to be scattered focus, right? With so many interests and activities, it can be a challenge to concentrate on just one area. So this could lead to a lack of depth when it comes to any single pursuit. You might find that you are dabbling into too many things and you're not focused on one thing, and you can kind of get, convoluted a little bit, right? There also might be some superficiality that's going on. So there might be like a risk of becoming overly concerned with surface level knowledge and not diving deeper into subjects. And then we might even feel restlessness. So the constant need for new stimuli, new experiences, right? All those things can lead to restlessness and an inability to commit to long-term projects or relationships. So like I was saying, it could convolute a lot of things. And so then there also might be an air of inconsistencies, right? So with Gemini's mutable nature, combined with that Jupiter's expansive energy and wanting a sense of adventure, this can result in inconsistency and a tendency to change our opinions or even our direction very frequently. So we might see that we're going in this direction, but we might not have a clear understanding or a clear idea of what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And so then we end up, about facing and pivoting into a different direction. So just kind of keep that in mind, that these are some things that we might experience for the next year ahead. Now, some key astrological aspects during this transit that's going to happen. So first and foremost, when Jupiter enters into Gemini, it's going to be trining all of the air signs. So it's going to be in an air sign and trining Libra and Aquarius. So it's going to be making a trine to Pluto that's retrograde in Aquarius. So this might bring in like some great energy when it comes to like transforming our minds or some major breakthroughs or even detoxing something on an intellectual or psychological level about an idea or something that we have been trying to create or something along those lines, right? Something in communication, even could be small business, transportation, something like that. So kind of keep that in mind. Now, also, there's going to be a sextile to Neptune that's in Pisces, right? So these things typically happen immediately as soon as Jupiter moves into Gemini, but then it's going to be making several different aspects, of course, throughout the year as the transits move, but we'll get into that throughout the year. But this first thing is the sextile to Neptune that's in Pisces, right? So this might bring creativity and intuition up to the surface in a positive light, putting in some work to make things more creative or using our intuition to really tap into our creative abilities, right? So this aspect is bringing that creative and spiritual dimension to the intellectual pursuits of a typical Gemini, right? So we already know Geminis are very like creative and intellectual, but it's bringing another energy to that theme or that characteristic, right? It enhances the creative communication. It enhances the understanding of complex or even abstract or spiritual concepts, making it an excellent time for people who are writers, artists, and anyone involved in like creative arts. This is going to be great energy. Okay, so then there's going to be, like I said, that trine to Pluto that's in retrograde in Aquarius, right? So that's empowerment and social transformation. And this transformative energy really supports profound changes in how we think, communicate, and connect with the world. All right, this energy is going to like facilitate influential communications that can lead to significant social reform or something that is innovative. So we might see a lot of changes that are happening, a lot of breakthroughs that are forming during this time. And then there's going to be a conjunction that happens with Venus in Gemini almost immediately because Venus just moved into Gemini, okay? So the social expansion and enjoyment, right? Venus is all about our pleasures and, being able to be social with others and, our possessions. It's also about our money. And so with the social expansion and enjoyment, this alignment emphasizes enjoyment in social interactions, right? Also in the arts and all forms of intellectual exchange. So it's particularly favorable for expanding social circles and enjoying cultural activities, but also bringing benefits through like partnerships and personal and maybe even business realms, because like I said, that Gemini energy also has a rulership over like small business and whatnot. Okay, so before we move on into some historical things, I just want to kind of help you understand how to guide yourself through this transit, right? So guidance for some like navigation tips through this. It's important that we really like expand our intellectual horizons, right? So embracing opportunities to learn and explore, taking courses, attending workshops, engaging in activities that challenge your mind and broaden your understanding, keeping an open mind. Okay. Also, leverage your creative and your intuitive insight. So, using that sextile with Neptune energy to enhance your creative projects with intuition and a deeper spiritual or philosophical understanding is really going to be helpful. Integrating creativity with intellectual pursuits. All right. And then also fostering transformative communications, right? So, using that trine that's happening with Pluto to communicate powerfully and advocate for meaningful change, right? What matters the most? What are your values? Right? Your words have power. Your words have increased impact right now, especially with this energy trining, Pluto and Aquarius. And with Pluto being retrograde is going to kind of like make another aspect to it as it moves forward. So, just kind of think about the capabilities of influencing larger audiences and also, contributing to significant societal shifts, however that looks like. Also, enjoy social and cultural activities, right? That conjunction with Venus invites you to really enjoy socializing, enjoying the arts, enjoying cultural events more fully. It's an excellent time to network and even enjoy the company of others in like a very light-hearted and intellectually stimulating environment. Like just get out there and have fun. It's almost summertime anyway. Okay, so school's out. So that being said, let's dive into just some history, just to kind of give you an idea of this is what I like to do for these major transits. I like to see when this energy was present and what was happening in history at that time. So that way we have an idea of what could possibly come. Now, of course, not all the transits are exactly the same, but we can kind of have an understanding of what was going on during the time that Jupiter was in Gemini. That had a lot to do with the Jupiter in Gemini influence, right? So whether it's like through communication, intellect, um, contracts and agreements, things like that, something to do with like foreign travel, so I'm just going to kind of like let you all know a little bit of the historical context of some things that was happening. So several dates. I'm gonna go all the way back to the 20s. Okay. So from June 13th, 1929 until June 26th, 1930, this period was when Jupiter was in Gemini. And so we saw we saw the Great Depression during this time, right? So that was a time of economic hardship that began with the stock market crashing in October of 2029. Okay. I said 2029, 1929. What's going on? Okay. So 1929. Also, unemployment soared, and many Americans, we all know about the financial difficulties that we faced during that time. Additionally, May 27th, 1941, until June 10th of 1942, during World War II, this was what was going on during that time. It's not starting off with great news, but here we are. Significant events that included the attack on Pearl Harbor that happened in December of 41. And that also led to the U.S. The United States entering into the war, right? The conflict had really reshaped global politics and societies. So that has a lot to do with, this Jupiter influence. Also, moving on to the 50s. So May 10th of 1953 until May 23rd of 1954, we had the Waco tornado outbreak that happened during this time. It was a F5 tornado that hit Waco, Texas in May of that year, literally right after Jupiter entered into Gemini. So that resulted in a lot of loss and destruction during that time. And I say that because here in Texas right now, we are experiencing a lot of tornadoes, right? We just had a couple of them in like Oklahoma. We had some here in Austin, where I am. We had a really big one that was down in Houston. And then we had one recently that was in Temple, Texas, which is about 30 miles north of where I am. So very close. Lots of tornadoes that are happening in Texas during this time. And Jupiter hasn't even entered into Gemini yet, but we can feel that energy, okay? So now moving into the 60s, April 23rd of 1965 until May 5th of 1966, this era was really marked by social and cultural upheavals. So that included the assassination of Malcolm X in February of 65 and the significant civil rights movement that was occurring during this time. Also, on a lighter note, the song I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, that was created by the Four Tops. So that was released and it became a major hit during that year. So a little sweetness to the news, okay? And then into the 70s, August 24th, 1976 until August 11th of 1978, off and on, because it goes retrograde and whatnot. So this period saw the continuation of the Vietnam's War aftermath, right? And the beginning of significant political and cultural changes globally. And then moving into the 80s, from July 22nd, 1988 until July 30th of 1989. So the late 80s were a time of economic shifts. We had the crack epidemic that was going on during that time. And I don't want to get into all of that. I could in a whole nother video, but I'm not. So those economic shifts happened during that time. We had like tech advancements that was happening, political changes that were happening. That included the beginning and the end of the Cold War during that time as well. And then moving on into the 2000s, literally into the 2000s. So from July 1st, 2000 until July 12th of 2001, this time was marked by the rise of the internet, okay? So this was significant advancements in technology and communication. So like I said, with Jupiter being in Gemini, it's at its detriment. Excuse me. Well, yeah, it's at its detriment. So it is not necessarily operating at its highest. So kind of keep in mind that the information that we might be getting during this time might not all be truthful or factual information. We're just going to be bombarded with a lot of it, whether it's useful or not. And so, for example, in the 2000s, from July 1st, 2000 to July 12th, 2001, it was the rise of the internet. We started getting all these information. We started getting the advancements in technology and communication. And also Wikipedia was launched. Not shitting on Wikipedia. It's just saying that, with Wikipedia, you have this, it's created by the people, right? It's created by the people. So you have to kind of like make sure that all the facts are there and if they're real, right? So this revolutionized the access to information with the rise of the internet. However, there's a lot of information that we have to actually check because it's not necessarily all factual. Okay. So June 12th of 2012 until June 25th of 2013 was the last time that Jupiter was in Gemini. So think back what was going on in your life, because that's the most recent transit for this energy. So think back what was going on in your life during this time and, kind of put some things together. For me, during this time, I was at that time living in Houston, and that's when my spiritual awakening began, I would say, because I literally was just like, you know what, I'm moving back home. And so after that, I moved back home. And literally from that moment moving forward, everything just seemed to kind of like snowball out of control. But, also I was about to go through my Saturn return. So that had a play in it too. Or I was going through my Saturn return during that time too. So neither here nor there, but just still think about what was going on during that time. So collectively, societally, right, from 2012 2013, it was a significant political and, technological advancements, right? So Barack Obama got his second term during that time. There was numerous policy changes and international developments that was happening during that time also. So just kind of keep that in mind, okay? Now, before we dive into the readings and the astrological predictions for all 12 zodiac signs, I have a few quick announcements. So, first and foremost, if you are looking to book your astrology readings, I have those available on the website. First come, first serve, only do a couple per month. They always restock at the beginning of the month. So, if you don't see anything there for this month, just wait till the following month and then you can book. I also have my Reiki appointments. Those are available as well. I have several different types of Reiki that I offer on my website. I can do distant Reiki as well as in-person Reiki if you are in the Austin area. But if you are not, don't let that hold you back. We can do distant Reiki, and trust me, it is as effective as if we were in person. Okay. And then also I have merch and all the good stuff on the website. So if you want to purchase your hats, your hoodies, your beanies, your t-shirts, all the things, go to the website. All of that is there. And then last but not least, like I previously mentioned, get the free PDF guide to get all of the astrology language that you need to understand everything that I'm saying. I make it real easy, digestible in that e-file. You can just download it, you can print it out, whatever you want to do with it. So keep that all in mind. All right. And that is all the announcements that I have for right now. And so with that being said, let's mosey on our way into the readings for all 12 zodiac signs. Okay, so make sure you are listening for your sun, moon, and your rising sign readings. Your rising is going to be first in primary. That is the most accurate reading for your sign. And secondary will be your sun sign. That reflects your focus, your goals, as well as your career life. And then last but not least will be your moon sign, as that reflects your home and family life, as well as your current living situations. All right, so starting off with Aries, sun, moon, and rising. This Jupiter and Gemini energy is going to be transiting your third house, right? So the focus areas are going to be on communication and local travel, your siblings, your immediate environment, maybe even your small business or vehicles. So this year really brings a significant growth in how you communicate and connect with those that are around you. And so opportunities for like learning and, whether you're taking a short course or you're creating a short course, right? So expect an increase in involvement within your community, within certain activities, as well as like short trips that stimulate your mind, expand your social network. Just be mindful that spreading yourself too thin with too many interests can also be at your detriment, okay? So moving on to Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. Jupiter in Gemini. I keep trying to say something else. Jupiter in Gemini is going to be transiting through your second house. So your focus area is going to be on money, possessions, values, and personal resources. Okay. So financial growth and expansion on, like on your personal values as well as your resources are going to be highlighted this year. It's an excellent time for investments as well as understanding your self-worth. So you might find new ways to increase your income and manage your resources more effectively. I always say your network is directly connected to your self-worth because sometimes it can be reflected, your money can be reflected in how you treat yourself and how you feel about yourself. If you feel deserving, right? It's that energetic connection. Okay. Now, on another note, just be cautious of impulsive spending or overestimating the value of certain investments that you're making. Okay. So for Gemini, Jupiter is going to be transiting your first house. It's in your sign. Okay. I literally just had Jupiter going through my first house. So there was a lot of things that just kind of overwhelmed me. Because that's kind of like, it depends on your chart. But for me, Jupiter can, yes, it can bring abundance. It can be, great. But in my personal chart, it can bring things that overwhelm me. Now, with Jupiter being in your first house, you're going to be shown a lot of opportunities, right? So the focus area is yourself, your appearance, your physical body. your personal initiatives. What I can say with Jupiter being in Taurus and transiting my first house, it brought up a lot of health issues for me that I needed to take care of. So it was like a necessary negative that had to happen in order for things to kind of turn out in a positive light. A lot of the time, some people can actually like gain weight or they can fill out a little bit more. In my way, I actually did gain a little bit of weight right when it first entered into Taurus. And then I lost all that weight, like maybe 4 to 5 months later. It was just, gone. Okay. And it was just a lot of like things that were coming up to show me where I was doing too much or I was not doing what was true to me. So kind of keep that in mind, Gemini. So some things that might happen. You might have some personal growth. You might have some, personal growth when it comes to your self-expression. New beginnings are going to really take center stage. So this is really your year to shine and take initiatives into your life, starting something new, something that is true to you. You will feel more confident and ready to embark on new ventures. However, keep in mind that you maintain focus and avoid scattering your energy across too many projects. I'm telling you from experience because that was me. Okay. During this time, I started grad school, and it was a lot, right? I started doing my internship for grad school. So I had grad school, I had a full-time job, I have full-time business, then I had the full or part-time internship, and then, being mom and partner and friend and sister and all the other things that just regular life kind of pulls at you. So just keep that in mind now, okay? I'm telling y'all because I just literally came through that. All right, so moving on to Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So this transit is going to be in your 12th house. Now, with the focus being in your 12th house, I also had this previously as well. And what I noticed with a Jupiter in the 12th house transit, it's a very spiritual time, right? So your focus areas are going to be on endings and solitude, spirituality, and anything that is subconscious matters, okay? So you might be really focused on spiritual growth. You might really feel like you are not able to be seen during this time. You might do a lot of introspection and a lot of healing. You might take some travel. You might even move to a long distance, location. It's a time to really connect with your inner self and address subconscious patterns. Retreats and meditation and, solitary activities will really bring profound insights and healing for you. So be wary of escapism because it's also a 12th house thing, or getting lost in your thoughts or, doing so without taking practical steps to address whatever it is that you're finding and what you're understanding and realizing. Okay. All right. So moving on for Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this transit is happening in your 11th house. So, this is all about friendships and groups and social awareness and hopes and also social media, right? So it is about your goals as well, your material gains. And so with this energy happening in this 11th house, the expansion in your social circles and your friendships, and involvement in group activities as well as within like community activities, collaborative efforts and networking will bring new opportunities to you. Right, so engaging in humanitarian efforts and technological innovation and advancements and things like that, really expanding on your material gains and your hopes and wishes and understanding what your goals are, ensuring you balance your personal aspirations with group activities, making sure that you do so that way you can avoid feeling overwhelmed by social commitments. Okay. Now, for Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this transit is happening in your 10th house. So, this is a house of career, public image, social status, long term goals. And so, your career advancement and recognition and professional growth are going to be highlighted during this year. So, you might bring in new career opportunities. You might get a new job. You might take on a position of leadership, or you might become that trusted person that people go to for knowledge. You might become a subject matter expert in whatever career that it is that you're doing. You might, take on a certification or take the knowledge that you've obtained from Jupiter transiting through your 9th house. Maybe you just graduated college or university or somehow, and you're taking that knowledge and you're applying it to a new career, right? So aiming for leadership roles to take your career to new heights, that's key. Now, your public image will benefit from your hard work and dedication. Now, the idea also is to avoid overextending yourself in your pursuit of perfection and ensure that you maintain a healthy work-life balance, okay? Because with Jupiter being in your 10th house, you might have a lot of demands when it comes to your career, to where at times you might, you know, negate your home life, because for Virgo risings you have Sagittarius in your 4th house, and so the ruler of this Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so it's ruling your 4th house. So maybe this is something that's needed to kind of like bring more abundance into the home. However, just make sure that you have a good balance of both, okay? Now for Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this transit is happening in your 9th house. So higher education, travel, philosophies, your beliefs, these things are going to come into focus. So growth in higher education, long distance travel, philosophical or even spiritual pursuits, learning a new belief system, or dabbling into a new religious belief or a religious practice. Going on a sabbatical might be something, or pilgrimage more so. Embrace new cultures and broaden your horizons. So this might be a wonderful time for you to actually travel. This is an ideal time for you pursuing advanced studies. So going back to school, engaging in activities that expand your worldview. So that means, like, even if that means you're traveling and you're going to do like, study abroad or something like that, or an exchange, that could be something also. Just be cautious of becoming overly idealistic or detached from practical realities, okay? So for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this Jupiter transit is happening in your 8th house. And so your focus is going to be on emerging and intimacy and joint finances and transformation and psychological things and past life things and karma. And it's just a loaded house, okay? So transformation and shared resources is going to be a key thing for you, okay? Deep emotional connections and personal transformation. So some of you might be actually getting married during this time, during this next year. It's a time for profound change and healing. You may deal with inheritances, taxes, or shared investments with a partner, and maybe even money that you get from like the government, whether it's loans, things like that. So the idea here is to avoid power struggles and focus on building trust and intimacy in your relationships, as well as when it comes to your finances and your resources that you have, okay? So for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this transit is happening in your 7th house. So your focus is going to be on partnerships and marriage and contracts and open enemies. So some things that might happen, because the 7th house is all about, agreements that you've made. And so these things could really expand on your partnerships, both personal and business. However, collaborations and relationships could bring growth in and mutual benefits, right? So some people may be getting married during this time. Some people may be going into business partnership, and it helps you expand. It's really an excellent time for forming new partnerships or strengthening existing ones with this Jupiter energy in your 7th house. Now, be mindful that maintaining balance and fairness in all agreements and avoid overcommitting to multiple partnerships simultaneously is going to help you, because you don't want to say, oh, okay, I'm going to do this business partnership and this business partnership, and now there's a conflict of interest. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind. All right, so for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this transit is happening in your 6th house. So you're going to be focusing on your health, your daily routines, your service, your work environment, your employees, maybe even your pets. You might be getting more pets because, like I said, Jupiter adds more, expands it. So you might be getting more pets. Now, you could also be focusing on your health, your daily routines, and work environment in a different way. So like making sure that the things that you have committed to aren't making you sick because you've overly committed, right? Improving your well-being and efficiency in your personal life. So picking up a new workout routine or a new diet or just a daily routine, changing or shifting your work environment to where it's more beneficial for you. This is a great time to adapt new health regimens or improve your daily habits. Get a schedule, get a planner, things like that. Just be careful of overworking and neglecting your physical or mental health, because the 6th house rules work and Jupiter can expand on that. So you might be really busy. Just make sure that you are balancing everything that's necessary, okay? So that way you don't make yourself sick or you affect your mental health. All right, so for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this transit is happening in your 5th house. And so this focus is going to be on creativity and romance and children and leisure activities. So with it being in, the sector of hobbies and speculative games, right? So when I say that, I mean that you could actually make money by gambling because Jupiter is in your fifth house, okay? So I'm just throwing that out there. The fifth house rules speculative games. Now, creative expression and romance and things and leisure activities are also highlighted, as well as children. So if you are not looking to get pregnant, make sure you do what you need to do to make sure that don't happen, because a lot of times when you have Jupiter going through your fifth house, you make children or you make more, however, okay? So this time is really like engaging in activities that bring you joy and showcase your talents. In this period is also favorable for like artistic pursuits, developing hobbies, creative self-expression, launching a creative project, but just make sure that you avoid getting lost in leisure activities at the expense of responsibilities, where you just kind of like, you're doing the escapism thing where you just want to have fun. Okay. It's not necessarily the time to do that all year long. Make sure you have balance. That's key. All right. Last but not least, we have Pisces. So this is going to be in your fourth house for the next year. So your focus is going to be on home, family, your roots, your foundations, your emotional foundations, your emotional capacity, your lineage, your mom, the mothers in your life, the feminine archetypes, the matriarch of the family, things of that nature, right? Getting in some different traditions and roots going. Okay. So growth in home and family relationships, emotional foundations, these things are going to be in the forefront. So it's a time to really nurture your roots and create a harmonious living space, whatever that looks like for you. Family connections will deepen during this time, even expand during this time. You may make significant changes to your home environment. So you could also be moving during this time. You could be selling your home and receiving something lucrative during this time, right? Just be cautious of becoming too emotionally dependent on family dynamics, right? Don't necessarily depend on just the family environment to make you feel emotionally fulfilled. Also, make sure you are tapping into self-care, because fourth house is self-care. Engage into some self-care so that way you are emotionally dependent also on yourself, right? You having that interdependence, okay? All right, so that is all that I have for all 12 zodiacs, okay? Just keep in mind for everyone, Jupiter's transit through Gemini is really promising a period of rich growth and knowledge, communication, social connections. If we engage with this energy, we can really experience significant intellectual expansion and contribute positively to our communities and, a broader society, right? So it's just all about, making sure that we checking our facts, because we're, like I said, it's not in the best place. All right, Jupiter is in Gemini and it's not in the best place. However, we're going to be getting a lot of information, and some of it's going to be just like overload, sensory overload, information overload. And we need to do a lot of fact checking, right? We need to also kind of like use our intuition, because remember, Jupiter is still co-ruler of Pisces. So, use your intuition to understand what you need to ingest, the information that you are ingesting. Okay. So that's all that I have for y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. I hope that this has been beneficial and helpful for you. I look forward to hearing back what all is coming with, this Jupiter and Gemini energy. We have a beautiful year ahead of us. Of course, it's going to be highs and lows, ups and downs, changes and transformations, because that's just the way of life. Okay. So that being said, y'all have a wonderful year ahead with this Gemini and Jupiter and Gemini energy. And meet me in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and follow, all the good stuff. Go to my website, House of Chiron, tx.org. The description box has all the things that you need. And yeah, you can find everything that you need there. Don't forget your free PDF guide, your House of Chiron merch, and booking your Reiki and astrology appointments. Y'all have a good one. Bye.